let's move on. Let's try and move to bone, because we have touched on quite a bit of what bone bone supplements would be and how to keep bone strength. So again, we can measure bone. So we can measure bone density, and that's something you can do on a DEXA scan.
Yes, and I think bone it's your framework. It's the framework where the muscle needs to attach. It's there for mobility and everything else. And we can measure the density, as you said, with the DEXA scan. But I think more importantly is what happens if you break a bone after 50. If you get a hip fracture or spinal fracture, I mean, the stats is hip fractures, there's a 30% mortality with a hip fracture. 50% of people will never get back to baseline after a hip fracture, and it goes on and on and on. So it's definitely one of the most important things in longevity and a healthy health span as such, and very important. And we need to do whatever we can to preserve bone mass as much as possible, and even more so for the females.
And I think also what's come out in the last few years is that your stem cells actually grow inside bone, in your flat bones. People have heard the words PRP, all that. I mean, you need those bones to grow stem cells. So if we look at what to supplement, we need to think, okay, but what is bone made of, and can we actually supplement to make it better, or can it be tested? So I think let's go back to vitamin D. Vitamin D, we've talked about, have it tested, but maybe we should just say how it orchestrates the magnesium, calcium.
So obviously the vitamin D helps with the absorption of calcium from the gut. So that's the main thing the vitamin D does for bone health. I think there was a couple of studies came out, and there were some concerns about vitamin D supplementation and actually getting that calcium not into the bone but into the arteries, causing calcifications in the arteries. So there's one study that I've actually looked at, showed like a dosage of 4,000 units, 400 units, 4,000 units, 10,000 units. And that study, a big study, but didn't show any calcification. So maybe it's not that important, but you can combine it with vitamin K2, okay, to try and get around that equation. Because vitamin K2 then will activate, I think it's osteoclastin or something, that will pull the calcium into the bone matrix. So you use the two together usually in most of the cases.
Okay, and maybe we should just put some numbers to that. So the D3, your body needs around 4,000 international units per day, of which you do make a bit yourself. So we seem to think somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 international units supplementation is what we see our clients work well on, but you can take a little bit more, and it's not something you need to take every day. And while you were talking, I was also thinking we haven't touched on multivits, but I mean, that is probably our same message with multivits is you probably don't need to take it every day. It's a supplementation. It's not a bank that you have to take it every day. So, and just to come back to D3 then is that we do think most people need to supplement with a little bit, but it doesn't have to be every day. You can have little spikes. Maybe two times a week, maybe once a week, but however your system works.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, it's shown that the vitamin D and K2 combination improves bone density in some studies. And in women, they can lose up to 20% of their bone density after menopause in that 5 to 7 years after menopause. And that's especially the group where it will have quite a big benefit. We're talking about supplements as such, but we mustn't forget estrogen as it's not a supplement, but I mean that's part of the equation, because part of the reason why especially women lose such a lot of bone density is due to the lack of estrogen post menopause.
Yeah, and I mean, we've had Marlena, Dr. De Tooy on one of the previous podcasts, and that is clear. And again, it's like iron, it's like testosterone, estrogen. You need the bottom of that pyramid correct first. You need to have estrogen in the background for the calcium, magnesium, Fit K to work. You need to have testosterone in the background for the protein, for the creatine, to work to make your muscles stronger. So your physiological base need to be proper before supplementation works. And I think maybe that must be our biggest message is we think of supplements as supplements, not as it has to be done every day.
I think our outlook is very focused supplementation. You need to see what you need and you need to supplement that, and you need to see the whole picture to know exactly what you need. And testing.
Yeah.